Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. So, the topics that I've covered so far, for the most part, have been about different ways that you can help yourself, different ways that you can grow, depending on what you're dealing with, different ways to just be a better person, and all of that. Today is going to be a little bit different. Today, I actually want to talk about what it's like to be in a relationship, whether it's a friendship or intimate relationship, with someone who struggles with mental health. So, we've talked about different mental health topics. We've talked about depression, anxiety, things like that. But we've talked about them in relation to ourselves. But what about when someone you're close to is struggling with a mental health issue? That looks very different than when we're talking about helping ourselves. So I want you to think about your own issues, whether it's mental health or otherwise, just regular day to day. Those look different, right? You are not going to display your struggles the exact same way that someone else does. Your depression or anxiety is going to look different from another person's depression or anxiety. Your marriage issues are going to look different from another person's marriage issues, and so on. And so the same applies to other people outside of ourselves. If you know someone who's struggling with anxiety, even if you yourself have anxiety, that doesn't mean that your struggle is going to look the same. There might be parts of them that are similar, things that overlap, but a lot of it might be different, and that's going to be because everyone's different. People are unique, and also circumstances play into it, right? Your anxiety may be about something specific, and another person's anxiety may be about a different specific thing. Or if you have generalized anxiety, it may apply to certain things and not others. It's not the same across the board. So the other thing I want you to think about is that not everyone understands or believes in this thing called mental health, right? So some people don't really understand what it's like or what it means to have a mental health issue or a mental health disorder. Not everyone believes that it's real. Some people think that someone who's depressed maybe is just lazy, or someone who's anxious is really just scared to try new things, and not that there's an actual mental health component to it. So if you have someone in your life who struggles with, say, anxiety or depression, then you first have to think about your own perspective of those things. Do you believe that what they're going through is legitimate? Or do you find yourself questioning if that's really a thing, if there's such a thing as mental health issues, if there's such a thing as anxiety or depression? That's a personal thing you just have to decide. Because if you have someone in your life who struggles, then I imagine you want to try to help them. You don't want to see them struggle. If it's your child, if it's your friend, if it's your spouse, if it's a family member, a coworker, then seeing someone struggle, most likely, if you care about them, then you will feel bad for them that they're going through this thing, and you probably wish you could find a way to help them. And if you want to help someone, but you don't even know if you believe in the thing they have, that's just something to be aware of. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're wrong. I'm just going to tell you you need to be aware of your perspective and your belief about what the person is going through, because what you perceive it as is going to have a lot to do with how you handle it. So the other thing that I want you to think about is you're not always going to be able to help someone, right? So put it back on you. If you're struggling with something, if you're sad about something, then probably you've had experiences where maybe someone was able to cheer you up and make you feel better, but maybe there are other experiences where it didn't work. Someone tried to cheer you up, but it just didn't help, and you just needed to get through it on your own, or it was just going to take some time. And so as much as you want to help someone who's struggling with mental health, I want you to know that your expectations have to be fair and they have to be realistic. You're not always going to be able to help people. I mean, I'm a therapist, right? That's literally my job. It's literally what I went to school for and have been doing for over a decade. And there are even times where I can't help someone because it's not easy. There are lots of things that go into helping another person with mental health, and part of it is, what we do to help, and part of it is where is that person in their struggle? Are they ready to receive help? Are they ready to put in the work that it takes to overcome a mental health issue? And then there are also other kinds of factors that play into it that could prevent a helper from helping. It's always harder to help if you're emotionally involved in this person's life, right? So that's why a lot of people go to a professional that's not involved in their life, that's a outside person that does not have a stake in the game, because there's no emotion attached, there's no judgment involved. It's a safe place that does not make that person feel like maybe they have to hold back because they don't want to hurt the therapist's feelings. Like, they're not going to hurt my feelings. I can handle whatever they throw at me. Whereas if they're going to come to you and you care about them, then you're going to be sad when they're sad. You're going to feel bad about things, and they don't want to have to worry about your feelings. They want to protect you from that sadness or from that struggle. So they're not going to tell you, possibly. So your expectations need to be realistic. You might be able to help the person you care about. You might not. You might only be able to help them a little bit, or you might really make a difference and change the course of their struggle and help them through it. There's no way to know for sure how it's going to go, but you just have to decide, if I'm going to help someone, let me make sure I go into this knowing that I may not be able to help them. And you could be doing all the things right, and it still may not help because they still have to be willing to help themselves. You're not going to be able to fix a problem for someone. You're not going to be able to make someone feel better. You can help by being supportive, by being encouraging, but at the end of the day, you can't do the work for them, right? So step one, usually, that I like to think about when helping someone is learning about what it is. So if you have a friend who has depression, you probably have an idea. If you're the kind of person who is not new to the mental health thing, understands that, is familiar with depression, even just slightly, then you probably have some ideas about what that looks like. Someone's sad, someone's unmotivated, someone's really, just kind of down in the dumps. But it's always helpful and always important to learn more about the thing that you want to help your friend through. So for me, I have two, maybe there's more, but I can think of two main things that help me help people. First, I have my education, right? So I went to school for many years to learn how to do this. I had, my practicums, my internships. I worked really hard through supervision and academia. I have that knowledge base about working in the mental health field. But then I have my experience. I've done it for, 12, 13 years now. And so by working with people who struggle with depression, anxiety, grief, trauma, whatever, I have learned through people's stories. I've learned so much from clients. Clients have taught me through their experiences about depression, about anxiety. So yeah, I know all the textbook stuff, but I also have the knowledge that has come from the experience of working with people, the experience of seeing people struggle, seeing them get better, seeing them be stuck, whatever. So that is why I'm able to help someone in that realm. If you're going to try to help someone who struggles with depression, but you know nothing about depression, step one is to try to educate yourself. And yeah, you could find a book about, explaining what depression is. But personally, I'm more a fan of articles. Articles are shorter to consume. It's not going to take me days and hours to read a book or to read an article the way it would to take me to read a book. I don't have time to sit and read a book, but I can flip through an article that's 2 to 5 pages long pretty quickly. I can get really good information from that. And if I read multiple articles, I will get a variety of information. I will get, my goal would be to, I would encourage you, find articles that explain more the technical and clinical part of that mental health issue, but then also find articles that are written by people who experience that thing. So if we're talking about depression, there are so many firsthand stories of people talking about their experience, talking about their depression, talking about how it affected their lives. And by reading a blend of the clinical and the experience, you will have a little bit of a better knowledge of what depression looks like, so that when you go and talk to that person that is struggling, that you want to support, you are coming in with a little bit of a foundation. Now, of course, keep in mind, like I already said, just because you have knowledge doesn't mean it's going to apply perfectly to that person. You are going to have to, bring in what you've learned, but also go in with the open mind of, this may not be exactly my friend's experience or my family member's experience. So the next piece, after you've educated yourself and did some reading and some research, and I'm not talking about hours, I'm talking about like spend 20, 30 minutes just reading some articles, and then that's it. But that next important step is, be ready to learn from your friend or your family member. Ask them, hey, I know you're struggling. I know this is something that might be really, really hard to put into words. So I want to understand. Help me understand. Tell me about when you woke up today. What was the hardest part about waking up? When you had to get out of bed, how did you do that? Why was it so hard? What did you feel was holding you in bed and helping, keeping you from being able to get out of bed? When you had to feed yourself or bathe, why was that so hard for you? What did you feel? And just let them walk you through just today. What was so hard about today? What do you think about yourself that is negative? What do you think about yourself that's positive? Asking those open-ended questions, trying to learn from them. They are the experts in their lives. So even for me, when a client comes into me, okay, I am the expert, I am the professional, but that's only to a certain extent. If someone comes into my office and I'm like, I know exactly what you need, you have depression, let me tell you how to fix your, that does not work. If anyone ever does that, please run the other way. That's not a good therapist. They are the experts in their lives. I always learn from my clients. Hey, tell me about your experience. Tell me what this is like. What is this? What do you struggle with this? Okay, when you try this, how does it work? Why doesn't this work? And we grow through their stuff together. I walk it with them. I help them navigate it based on their life, their situation, their circumstances, everything. And so, as a friend, again, your role is not to help in the same way my role is, because I am someone who, this is my job. People come to me for help. If you go into someone's space and you want to help them, they may not want your help. So, you have to come at it very, very basically from a place of support. That is the best way to help a family member or a friend. You are there to support them. You are not there to pull them out of their struggle, because that's not something you're likely going to be able to do, but you are there to encourage them. You are there to support them. You are there to help them feel valued, to show them that you care about them. And by getting in that space with them, asking them questions about their experiences, listening to their struggles, you are helping them feel heard. You are helping them feel valued, that you're not judging them for staying in bed all day like other people might be, because other people might look at that and say, gosh, they're so lazy. But if you take the time to listen to their struggle and you realize they want to get up, but there is this chemical thing or this, emotional burden that they can't seem to figure out, well, then maybe you'll be more sympathetic or empathetic. You don't have to experience the thing to be able to empathize. Clients that come to me, most of the things that walk through my door, like issues that clients have, I've never experienced in my life. There are certain traumas I've never experienced, certain grief, abuse, miscarriage. I've never experienced depression. I've experienced anxiety, but I personally don't struggle with depression. But I work with people who have depression every single day. I can empathize and help someone even if I've never experienced it, right? Same for you. You can be supportive and empathetic of a family member or friend even if you've never experienced the grief that they're going through, or the loss, or the depression, or the anxiety, or the trauma. You just have to listen. And a lot of the times, people who struggle with mental health feel like they don't have anyone who listens. They don't have anyone who understands. And by being there and just being available, being a helping ear to just let them talk about it, that is an amazing first step. And then a lot of the times when it comes to helping people, after you kind of establish that trust that they can openly talk to you and you're not going to judge them, a lot of the time it takes, listening to what could I help you with? Like, okay, today, what would make today easier? Okay, well, I noticed that you haven't taken a shower in a few days. Would it help for me to maybe call you and encourage you to, like, hey, today's a really good day. Why don't you go ahead and take a shower? Hey, why don't I come over, watch your kids while you take a shower? Or why don't I get you a new flavored bath wash that I know you love this scent? Maybe that'll encourage you to get in there. Hey, maybe I can just come by and bring you some lunch, and then after lunch you hop in the shower or whatever. It's so basic, but that is something that someone who's in deep clinical depression is not going to do. If you've known anyone who's been clinically depressed, they probably haven't bathed in a few days. They probably don't brush their teeth. They probably don't eat very often. So, it's the little things. What can I help with? How can I be here for you today? Do you want me to come help with laundry? Why don't we fold your laundry together? Why don't I help you make your bed? Why don't I help you clean your house? It's the little daily tasks that they may just not have the energy or the motivation or the confidence in themselves to do by themselves. They need support. They need maybe accountability. And then it's up, take it a bigger step. Hey, I know that you have this doctor's appointment that you've been putting off, and it's something that would be really important. You have a therapy appointment that you keep canceling, or you have a psychiatrist appointment that you're not making and you need to make it. Can I help you call them? Can I be with you when you call them so that I can help you through that call? Can I drive you to your appointment? Can I help you write down what you want to say to the therapist so that when you get there, you don't forget what you want to say? That is a step to help them pursue care and to get medical attention or mental health attention. So that's being there and helping them. And then I think a lot of the times it's just encouragement when they do something small. Hey, you know what? I know that was really hard for you today, but I'm really proud of you because you got out of bed. You took a shower today. Hey, that deodorant, good job. I'm glad you used that deodorant. I'm glad you brushed your teeth. It's just reinforcing the little things, and it sounds silly and it almost may sound condescending, but trust me, if you are the kind of person, if you know someone who struggles that deeply, they are going to need every little bit of encouragement. Now, if you say it in a way that's critical and judgmental, no, they don't want to hear that. But if you've established that trust and established that you're not judging them for their struggle and say, hey, listen, I wanted to learn more. I read some articles about depression. Is this right? I read that when someone has depression, they feel like this. Does that apply to you? Is that something that you struggle with? Let them teach you by showing you show them what you've learned and you ask them if that matches their experience. So by doing that, you're showing them that you took the extra step because you care and you educated yourself. And you're also giving them an opportunity to see that you hear it, you see it, you believe it, you take it seriously, and then they can correct any information that's wrong. Don't feel worried or bad about getting it wrong. Even in therapy, again, I am the professional and I get it wrong a lot, where I tell someone, hey, this could be totally off base, but I wonder if you're avoiding this because of this. And sometimes they're like, yeah, you're right. And other times they're like, yeah, no, not at all. That's totally wrong. I'm like, okay, great. Tell me what was wrong about that. Fix that. Explain it to me in a way that maybe I'm misunderstanding it or I'm just not seeing it right. So it's okay to be wrong. Just you can't be condescending about it. You can't assume that you know. You have to ask it as a question, as maybe I'm wrong. And I if I'm wrong, teach me. Let me learn from you. I think it's so important to let them lead us. So let people who struggle lead us through their struggle. So your goal, again, is to be supportive, to be helpful. And if you do get to a point where you get an answer to a question that is very clear, like, wow, okay, this is the reason that you're not doing this. Wow, I didn't know that was it. Well, all right, well, what do we do about it? How can I help you do that? Okay, well, maybe you don't want to go to this event. You're not going to work because maybe your boss is really like a bully. Or maybe when you go to work, you feel really embarrassed about this thing that happened, or you're really insecure about the way you work. All right, well, okay, I didn't realize that's why you avoided work. Your depression might be coming from this thing with work. let's work through that. What can I help with? Like, let's role play talking to your boss. Maybe they need an advocate, someone to say, hey, that was a really big ethical thing. I think you need to email HR, whatever. You have to, if not you have to, I'm sorry, if you hear information by being open, presenting that safe space, and they do open up and you can kind of hear between the lines, so to speak, then you might be able to pinpoint what is it that they actually need help with. Because depression is, yes, there's clinical aspect to some, some people have that very chemical depression that's not necessarily affected by situations, but I think most people's depression is situational. It's even if it's chemical, it's impacted by situations. And so I would say most of the people that come through my door, we end up finding a thing, a reason, a contributor, that if we can just improve this thing, it takes some of the pressure off of that depression. It doesn't make it go away, but it improves this aspect of this person's life. And by improving one little thing at a time, then it stops being this just all-encompassing state of depression. It becomes, well, I struggle with this specific thing, but you know what? These things over here, I've gotten better. I've improved these, or these are going well. And that's ultimately the goal, right? Is to break it down, see what's going on, help improve the situations that we can improve, and then learn to deal with the things we can't control. And hopefully with time, that leads to better functioning, being able to go out into the world to do the job or take care of the kids or whatever. So again, you're not trying to read between the lines like therapists are. We have different way of doing that, but you can still be a listener and a helper by being caring. Listening means legitimately focusing in on the words and trying to hear what they're saying. And if you can do that, you have a better chance of seeing the point beneath the emotion or beneath the weight of this depression. So I threw a lot at you. To summarize it a little bit, educate yourself, read some articles, talk to the person who's struggling, figure out where you stand on the mental health thing, if you believe it or not, before you do any of that. If you don't, do step 2, read about it. See if maybe reading about it will help you kind of see it for what it is a little bit more. But, ask the open-ended questions. Ask if there's any, instead of saying, hey, what do you need? What can I do for you? Go through the specifics. Hey, in the morning, what is one thing that I could help you with that would make your morning easier? And then go through the rest of it. Talk it out. And then just, give that support wherever you can. Follow through. If you've decided, if you've agreed together that your job, your helpfulness is going to be that every morning you're going to call them and make sure they're awake, well, you better stick to it. Because if you're not going to help them and commit and stand by your commitment to help, don't offer your help. Because if you can't commit to it, then it's just going to make it worse. It's going to cause that person to feel either some abandonment or rejection, or just that they can't rely on you, they can't trust you. So don't commit to doing anything that you can't follow through on, because then you're going to damage that relationship. And it's okay if you don't want to commit to a big thing. That is not your responsibility. At the end of the day, that person is responsible for their own mental health. They are responsible for taking care of themselves. You are choosing, if you choose to be supportive, to be helpful, to support them in their journey. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, whether you get them to an appointment or help them wake up and take a shower, they are responsible for doing the work. And that goes back to that expectation I talked about. You are not responsible. You are there to help. Do not go in there expecting it to be your job to help this person not struggle with depression. It will not happen. You might as well just quit now. Okay? I can't do that, and this is my job. I can't go into a situation with a client telling myself, well, I got to fix this. I'm not in the business of fixing people. I am here to help people. I just happen to have the knowledge base, the academic background, and the experience and the heart, the desire to do it, right? So if you have that heart, if you have that desire, go in with realistic expectations If they tell you they don't want you involved, you're going to have to respect that. Okay? Cannot force yourself on someone who's struggling. And struggle looks so different. You can have someone whose struggle is so one dimension, like it's in this one thing and it's one thing only, and it's not huge, but it plays a really big role in their life. Or you can have someone whose entire life just fell apart. Someone died or something really tragic and massive happened. So be there to the best of your ability. But if they don't want your help, you have to respect that. And then you just, decide that the way you help is that you send a text every day that says, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hope you have a better day. That's it. That might be your role. And you might have to accept that that's as much as you can do. But if they're open to more, go with them. Walk with them through the journey and meet them where they are. Help them move forward, but keep your expectations realistic. Okay, I hope this helped you. I think all of us know someone who does struggle with mental health of some sort. This was actually a topic that was requested by a friend, someone who has been struggling to help a friend, and so I wanted to honor that and give you an episode on it. I hope it reaches more people, and like I said, we all know someone who struggles, whether it's mental health or just insecurities, whatever. This applies to all of that. So if you know someone who could benefit from this, share it, please. And maybe we can help more people together. All right. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.